Work session of the Henrico County Public School Board. At this time, we have one. I'd like to make note of Ms. Ogburn's absence from today's work session. She previously notified the board of her desire and need to participate in today's work session remotely. Our school board policy P2-04-006, electronic participation in meetings from remote locations, requires a majority vote of the board members present at the primary or central meeting location to allow a board member to participate in a meeting from a remote location. In accordance with the school board policy, do I hear a motion to approve Mrs. Ogburn's participation today in today's work session from a remote location?
So moved.
It's been moved by Mrs. Cock. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Pike. All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So the one thing we want to make sure is going forward is Mrs. Ogburn cast her votes that we are clear as to what her vote is since she's not able to be here in person. And I guess, Mrs. Ogburn, would you tell us the remote location from which you're calling in?
I am in San Angelo, Texas.
Okay, thank you very much. It sounded much more exotic when we called it a remote location. So.
I wish.
Okay, good. Home of the armadillo, I'm sure. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
The first item of business is approval of today's agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Pike. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Cock. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Mrs. Ogburn. Any opposed? Ayes have it. The motion carries. The next order of business is to conduct a closed or executive session for discussion of matters covered under items A1 and A2 of Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended pertaining to the following: the assignment, appointment, performance, disciplining, and release of contract for specific school board employees, and the admission and discipline of specific students, including a request for religious exemption from compulsory education. Is there a motion that we go into closed session for those purposes?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Pike. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Reverend Cooper. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it. We'll now move to closed session. Thank you very much, and welcome back to the work session. Members of the board, our first order of business is to certify that all those matters that were identified in the motion moving us into closed session were discussed during closed session. Is there such a motion to certify the closed session?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cock. Is there a second?
I second, sir.
Seconded by Reverend Cooper. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. So certified. Superintendent.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the first item, I have some recommendations for the board for expulsion of students, and we'll begin with the recommendation for the expulsion of student case number 18-19-S-20 for violation of the Code of Student Conduct, and the names of students are protected under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act.
Members of the board, before we take a vote regarding the superintendent's recommendation, for those who might listen later, listening now, just a reminder that all of these students' cases have been considered individually and at great length, both in the closed session as well as in material provided ahead of time. So the board has given it careful consideration. With that being said, is there a motion to adopt Is there a motion to adopt the superintendent's recommendation regarding student case number 18-19-S-20?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Pike. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Cock. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you. The superintendent recommends that the school board approve the expulsion of student case number 18-19-S-21 for violation of the Code of Student Conduct.
Members of the board, is there a motion to adopt the superintendent's recommendation regarding student case number 18-19-S-21?
So moved.
Been moved by Mrs. Cock. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Pike. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you. The superintendent recommends that the school board approve the expulsion of student case number 18-19-S-22.
Members of the board, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to adopt her recommendation regarding student case number 18-19-S-22?
So moved.
Moved by Reverend Cooper. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Pike. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you. And while on the agenda, I am withdrawing the recommendation for expulsion for case number 18-19-S-23. So that has been withdrawn.
Thank you.
All right, next, the superintendent recommends that the school board approve participation in an alternative education program for student case numbers 18-19-S-20, 18-19-S-21, and 18-19-S-22.
Thank you. Members of the board, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation for placement in alternative education program for student case numbers 18-19-S-20, 18-19-S-21, and 18-19-S-22. Is there a motion to adopt the superintendent's recommendation?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Pike. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Reverend Cooper. All those indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it. The motion carries.
Thank you. And next is a request for approval for the readmission of student case number 17-18-S-9.
Members of the board, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation for readmission of a student coming back into the school system for student case number 17-18-S-9. Is there a motion regarding her recommendation?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Cock. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Pike. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those, anyone opposed? Ayes have it, including Mrs. Ogburn. And the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the recommendation that the school board approve the request for release from compulsory attendance for student case number 18-19-RE-9 based on bona fide religious beliefs.
Thank you, members of the board. You've heard the superintendent's recommendation regarding student case number 17-18-S- I beg your pardon. Let me make sure I have the right. Okay. Regarding student case number 18-19-RE-9, is there a motion to adopt the superintendent's recommendation?
So moved.
Moved by Reverend Cooper. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the request for approval of the appointment of administrative personnel for the 2018-19 school year as well as the 2019-2020 school years.
Great, thank you. It's always exciting to approve administrative appointments. Members of the board, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation regarding the approval of these administrative appointments. Is there a motion to adopt the superintendent's recommendation?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Cock. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Reverend Cooper. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. And the board has approved Anna Hatfield as an educational specialist with instruction for English as a second language programming, and also Leslie Hughes as assistant superintendent for instruction. You'll be meeting both of those individuals this evening at the monthly meeting as well as an administrative appointment from a prior meeting.
Great, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, next, under instruction, Mac Baton is coming forward to review the VSBA Excellence in Workforce Readiness Award application.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. Cashwell, colleagues, and guests. I am excited to share with you the application for the Virginia School Board Excellence in Workforce Readiness Award. The Career and Technical Education Department was excited for the opportunity to enter the CTE Letter of Intent Signing Day because we truly believe this is an outstanding opportunity to highlight some of the great opportunities for our students in Henrico County Public Schools. The title of the award submission, I think, says it all. Setting the Bar High, CTE Letter of Intent Signing Day, having students graduate, enrolled, enlisted, and are employed. As part of the award, there were 5 questions that had to be answered. I'd like to highlight just a couple of things to let you know the breadth and depth of the application. In Henrico Public Schools, County Public Schools, we've made great gains in helping make sure all of our students, K-12, begin thinking about careers early. We do not think of education as three discrete chapters, such as elementary, middle, and high, but through the 3E approach, we're able to start with the end in mind, helping students focus. The ultimate goal of education is to prepare students to be life ready. This includes understanding and being ready for the workforce. By reverse engineering a career pathway through the 3E approach, students have a better understanding of all their options. The letter of intent signing day helped add value to the option of choosing to enter the workforce and bring attention to the fact that this option does not preclude students from going to college, but often provides funding and a source of funding from the employer for students to continue their education. The school board and business community have been instrumental in the overall success of not just the letter of intent signing day, but the fact that we are ensuring students are leaving Henrico County truly life ready. The students ultimately have been the real winners in this project. Not only have students not just had job offers, but they've had career offers, because businesses are continuing to reach out and provide opportunities that several years ago were not even possible. This program was definitely the right program at the right time. While Henrico County Public Schools and the program gained national attention last March, we're still receiving numerous inquiries each day from business and school systems across the country, hoping to replicate the efforts of, yes, Henrico County Public Schools. The letter of intent signing day was not just a culminating event, but it was a celebration of opportunities for students and their futures in Henrico County Public Schools. Tonight, we'll be asking for the approval of this application. If there's any questions about the applications, I'll be happy to answer them.
Members of the board, are there any questions? How about some comments? Would you, Mrs.
Yes.
Cox, for all of us?
I tell you, this is just an amazing program. And as you know, this was a brainchild of Mr. Mac Baton, who came up with the program's idea, and I don't think had any idea that it was going to touch every state in the United States. The power that it has taken off. And it seems like such a simple idea, but none of us thought of it. Mac thought of it, and we really do appreciate you and what you've done to raise the level of our career and technical education programs. So I, for one, will be very excited to see that this program gets the recognition that it deserves, once again.
Anyone else? Oh, hello. Yeah, okay, good. So, well, first of all, thank you, Mrs. Cox, for your leadership as well in this area. And I would say the mighty Mac Baton, who just really has brought a great light to Henrico County Public Schools and specifically to the people that work in his department and those kids, those students, young people now who've gone on into the workplace. So you amaze us. We appreciate you tremendously. We don't say it enough. We want you to know how much you mean to us, and we'll say it again tonight when everybody else is here. So, but thank you very much for putting together the award application, but also, more importantly, for the work you did to get us there. So, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have the Special Education Family Engagement Subcommittee report, and you may recall that we've received a number of committee reports to date. I believe this is number 5 on the list, and this committee was chaired by Pam Bell and Samantha Davis, and so without further ado, I will turn it over to them.
All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. Cashwell. The Special Education Family Engagement Committee is excited to share the work that's been done so far to address the recommendations to improve family engagement for parents of students with disabilities. I'm thrilled to co-present with one of our Henrico parents, a mother of 5, of which 3 of her children are students with special needs, Ms. Samantha Davis. She's also the Vice Chair of Planning for our Special Education Advisory Committee, referred to as SEAC. This awesome group understands the dynamics of the IEP process, and they utilize their passion, prior experiences, and knowledge of public education and resources to help bring about positive change for our families. Additional suggestions were received from community members responding to the team's Twitter requests for feedback. The Family Engagement Subcommittee is comprised of 22 members, half of which are parents, SEAC members, and several Henrico County Public School staff who are also parents of students with disabilities. Would all committee members who are present this afternoon please stand?
Thank you, Pam, and thank you, Dr. Hamlet, for inviting me to co-chair this committee. Mr. Chair, board members, and Dr. Cashwell. This committee responded to 3 of the 5 recommendations identified in the Review of Equity and Parent Engagement in Special Education reports. The other 2 recommendations were clarified and addressed prior to Aunt Holton's presentation of the report. The recommendations that pertain to our subcommittee were to improve communication and trust of families of students with different abilities, to improve awareness and expand the presence of SEAC as a voice for families, and to consider moving towards a peer family support model for families of students with different abilities. Our report today will reflect a list of action steps that we are committed to implementing to improve the practices in all areas for students with different abilities, their parents, and the staff who support them. The first recommendation is to work to improve communication and trust with families who are currently disaffected. Although the report emphasizes that only a small portion of our total special education population, the team agreed that this focus is our top priority.
We believe that family engagement begins before the parent arrives at the school. Thus, school climate matters, and we must work to ease the process for parents. Our team will gather information that will be sent home to parents prior to their meetings to help them to become more familiar with acronyms, vocabulary, and the process, all with the desire to empower them as a valuable member of the team. The team also suggests that all office staff receive refresher customer service training so that they're better able to understand the thoughts and feelings of parents and appropriately welcome them to the school, and recommend that school IEP teams continue to receive refresher training on proper meeting etiquette, rapport building with families, and ways to inform and to engage them. Adding front office kiosks in every school that will include special education resources, as well as information on events and workshops for parents while they wait meetings, was highly suggested from the committee. The Family and Community Engagement Team and SEAC teams are currently working to update websites and social media outlets so that parents will have additional access to information and resources to support their children and increase their knowledge. After much discussion about ways to build a better homeschool team connection, the team decided to create family engagement kits for all schools so the information would be readily available to parents during and after IEP meetings. The kit will serve as a mini resource center, if you will, comprised of information from various departments and organizations. It will include an IEP checklist, websites for academic support, list of accommodations, post-secondary resources, and quick reference materials to inform, engage, and empower. These materials will help them to increase their knowledge in order to best support their children. An exit survey will also be provided so that IEP teams can obtain feedback and information to ensure that parents feel valued and heard as an integral part of the team. A grant was recently written to request funds to support the purchase of most items, including a few comfort items for the kits. Each school will receive 2 to 3 kits, depending on the size of the school and conference room spaces. The FCE team will be working collaboratively with the Exceptional Education team to provide training and resources so that school staff and parents can work together cohesively. The implementation of a new Welcome to Henrico initiative, driven by their family engagement team, will begin during the summer of 2019. As parents register students in Henrico, they'll be greeted with a welcome kit that will provide a principal's welcome letter, family learning series, and SEAC flyers, and other information to help them to navigate HCPS, and all to provide a warm homeschool connection upon their arrival.
As you are aware, having a SEAC committee is mandated by state and federal law to offer advice to local school boards. While their purpose is mandated, SEACs vary widely in their breadth and scope between locations. Our SEAC is a very active committee that offers presentations by experts in various areas concerning children with special needs. Topics have included inclusion, dyslexia, IEPs, Medicaid waivers, and special programs available to children with special needs. We meet in work sessions to study and discuss special education needs and concerns in the county. All of our meetings include time for public comment, where parents are given the opportunity to address general concerns. We focus on all students rather than address individual needs. We act as advisors, not advocates. In addition to its role of offering advice to the school board, the SEAC has three major objectives. To identify concerns, to work collaboratively with parents and staff, and to propose solutions. Currently, there are about 6,800 students with special needs in Henrico County, and due to the comprehensive research into developmental disabilities, this number continues to increase. That means we will have more parents than ever making initial contact with Henrico County about their children, and SEAC will continue to be here to support them. In 2016, the school board requested that SEAC examine the disproportionality of discipline of students with special needs in Henrico County, especially regarding students of color. The SEAC 2016-2017 annual report of recommendations to the school board was the basis for this special education report. Ann Holton's team used data that the SEAC collected through a countywide survey of parents of students with disabilities, focus groups, and data collection and its analysis. It's the work of the SEAC that has resulted in our being here today. Holding the SEAC's work in esteem, Dr. Nia Hamlet requested that a SEAC member either co-chair or participate in each of these 5 subcommittees. I was very happy to see that the group recommended that Henrico County continues to support SEAC's role as a voice for parents in special education and to pursue ways to enhance it. We are excited to have partnered with the Department of FCE this year and are looking forward to an even closer and more intentional collaboration in the coming year. We are planning to host a SEAC open house this summer to reach families and to provide support as the new school year approaches. We will have information about SEAC, FCE, and school division resources so the families are aware and comfortable with the processes to come this year. We want families to see that there's a cohesive and passionate group to support them as they navigate the IEP process. We will work with the FCE on its back-to-school kickoff and continue to suggest topics and presentations for the Family Learning Series that are tailored to exceptional education community. Students on every grade level, including students transitioning into post-secondary opportunities. This past October, Pam and I participated in the Exceptional Education Staff Development Day and successfully presented on navigating the IEP process from a parent's perspective. It's a partnership that I affectionately call the Pam and Sam Show. Going forward, we'd like to create videos for staff and family support, and the topics may include a demonstration of a model IEP, Rebecca Holden's dyslexia demonstration, role-playing parental questions and concerns. We feel that this partnership, as well as a new partnership with the County PTA, are essential to provide all the necessary supports for our families.
The third recommendation is to consider enhancing the capacity of our Family Educator Resource Center and our family advocates by moving toward a peer family support model. The committee discussed this topic in great length and decided upon 2 structures to support families. The first is the Parent Support Group model, led by team members of the Family Institute, where families will be able to attend bi-monthly conversations with other parents of students with disabilities to discuss matters of the heart, effective instructional and social-emotional strategies, and upcoming community events that would be beneficial. The idea is to provide a safe place for parents to network among themselves in a positive way and to share resources and proven best practices. The sessions will have focused topics. However, the majority of the time will be allocated to parents talking among themselves, building a supportive network within the Henrico family. We plan to reach out to the VCU Center for Family Involvement, whose model is to recruit culturally and linguistically diverse individuals. And those individuals volunteer as family navigators. We'll also reach out to the Parent Educational Advocacy Training Center, better known as PETSI, in Springfield, Virginia, who reminds educators that family engagement is an investment and it should be a continuous collaboration that requires nurturing and consistency, which will lead to improved student success.
Because parents need more direct support navigating the IEP process, the committee suggested the hiring of special education liaisons who would serve as a neutral party to support families. These liaisons will provide meaningful written information and training to parents so that they are well-informed IEP partners and feel confident to support their child. We envision that the liaisons will be similar to the current FRC family advocates, but will also have other required credentials. We also recommend that a supervisory position is also added, recognizing that the need to support families will increase throughout the county. The committee suggested that the liaisons work on a 12-month contract, requiring them to have a bachelor's degree and special education experience, and to be placed in each of the 5 magisterial districts based on caseload. It is recommended, however, that the supervisor must have a master's degree and provide direct leadership, training, and evaluation of services.
So the committee has its work cut out for them as team members begin planning for the SEAC open house, back-to-school efforts, the collection of documents to include in the over 275 family engagement kits, and more. But due to the excitement of the team's collective efforts, we stand ready to take on this challenge because at the end of the day, the most overwhelming key to a child's success is the positive involvement of parents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, thank you very much for that. Members of the board, are there questions or comments to offer to the report?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Pike.
I love the idea of the partnerships. I think that's really important across the community, the ways you're looking to put those together, and I hope that will continue to be a push. How about the timeline for the new positions that you're calling for? Do you have a timeline for that?
Yesterday?
Ideally, that would certainly be up to the school division. We're just putting that out there as an option. This is what the committee would like to have, but we'll be following the typical process.
Yes,
Dr.
so
Cashwell?
I know Dr. Hamlet has shared before that as a result of the 5 initial subcommittees or work groups putting forth recommendations, some of them had some redundancies. We saw some other recommendations for positions come from other groups and some programming. So all of the recommendations from the groups will come together in one meeting. We'll look at kind of organizing those, prioritizing them, and then wherever there are budget implications, et cetera, we'll move those along accordingly.
I know Reverend Cooper and I had the chance to attend the
Family
look at my
learning
notes,
night.
the family learning night over at Henrico High School. And I wonder if you see the potential to do the same type of thing with this group. And I wonder if the potential there is to move those into other community facilities. Maybe just don't rely upon schools, but if there are other ways to move into the community and maybe make those places, events even more accessible as you move forward. I thought that was a really well thought out planned evening, and I could see the same kind of potential happening for what you're proposing here too. So I hope you won't lose sight of that.
Absolutely. Our goal
That's
is
a
to
good
certainly
reminder.
diversify where we're going. Even with the Family Learning Series, we hold those sessions across the county within our community centers as well as in the county library. So we try to find a lot of neutral ground.
Right.
And with the SEAC Summer Open House, we'll be looking at locations. And right now, we're already planning for the back-to-school kickoff on August 17th, and that's going to be held at Dory Park.
Great.
So we try to vary where we're going to be holding various things, just to allow for persons from various parts of the county to attend.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Pike. Yes, Mrs. Scott.
First, I would like to say the Sam and Pam show, or Pam and Sam show, is excellent. And Sam, you did a great job. And we
Thanks
really
so much. I
appreciate,
appreciate
you are,
that.
people don't know this for our listening audience, you are here at all of our work sessions and taking notes and supporting and asking questions and nudging us too. And we appreciate that. I wanted to talk a minute, the summer SEAC open house, again, that sounds like an easy idea, but I don't think we've done it before. And I
No, we
was
haven't.
curious, is it going to be in one location, or are we looking at splitting it up into several locations? across the county?
I think since this is the first time, we'd probably just have one in one location. The other night at our SEAC meeting, we talked about perhaps holding it in Fairfield.
Okay.
So we get another magisterial district in there as well.
Great. Thank you for all your work. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Cox. Yes,
Please
Reverend.
bear with me, I got like 4 questions. I want to first and foremost commend you all for the dedication and the intentionality that you employ, because I do believe that you all are working toward a great goal, and we're here to be your partners. First question, under communication and trust, can you provide some specific examples of some communication issues you found parents, students, and families frequently complained about? For example, lack of return phone calls, administration, no communication, being sent home, just some examples in regards to the lack of communication piece.
Well, we looked at what those particular concerns are. So the goal, when we talk about the refresher training, all of that is all encompassing. So that training will be provided for the office staff to address, because some of those concerns sometimes have been what parents are faced when they enter the school. Maybe not the type of greeting, and of course, many of them come with a level of angst sometimes. And so we just need to train our folks to just be more empathetic, understanding, and so therefore we're looking at the kiosk and things like that to have resources and information for them. The other piece, I think, is that parents come, and the information has been that they come blind, kind of with a blind eye.
Okay.
And so our goal of trying to be proactive, so when they get their notice of their meeting, we want to send home information at that time. So they'll have information beforehand, information to review, they can ask people questions, but we'll also have contact information. So I didn't want to get into details about what the family engagement kit includes, but there's certainly a list of the folks that they can contact. So we're just trying to think about, from both of us being parents of students with disabilities as well as our team, there were so many ideas generated, but the goal was to just be proactive, providing as much information up front to people, being as transparent about processes. And we've researched and obtained information from PTSI, which is one of the groups we referred to, a whole beautiful list of an Iep checklist. So parents will know these are the types of things you should expect. A lot of times we tell, but we found that the missing point is that we have not shown them.
So when you
So
spoke
we
to
want to provide visuals for them to understand.
A
so they
lot
have
of
the
parents
communication.
tend to talk about they don't feel as welcome as a member of the IEP team. So we want to make that more welcoming and inclusive to them. We've talked about simple things like not having a wall of laptops looking at you when you're in this meeting. We just want to have parents realize that they're a really important part of this process. They know their child better than anyone else.
So that's a great segue, because the question, when I was looking at the special education liaison and special education liaison coordinator, the question I raised was, will they be considered, I know we want to be on contractual, but if they are contractual, would they be considered HCPS employees? And if they will be considered HCPS employees, how can this be received by some parents who feel their child's best interest would be represented by non-HCPS employees, someone who they might think would be more objective and neutral?
Very good question. I'd like to answer that piece first, and then I know she'll have a response as well. That was one of the pieces that we talked about within our committee, and which is why we're asking that those persons work under the family and community engagement team. As you'll see in the report, we're all going to be working collaboratively with family engagement, SEAC, exceptional education, everyone. However, this is one of the 2 ways that we're trying to provide a model for parents to have a neutral person. Many times, even at this point, our department is a department that's called, because we are considered the parent-to-parent connector. And we provide a neutral response. We try to make sure people are informed. So right now, that position would be under our department in that way. And again, it's about providing information. A person they can call, walk them through, talk with them, and it's seen more neutral. And then the second piece, of course, is the parent conversation meetings that we have that are very neutral. They can talk with anyone, and that would also be a peer-to-peer model. You might want to add.
We just, I've been advocating for this kind of position for the past 3 years. And we just want the parents to have someone that they can talk to, not necessarily a representative of the school or necessarily a representative of the parent, but someone who can help prepare them, offer any training, answer general questions, somebody who would have a great deal of background knowledge about the special ed process.
It's amazing the correlation between my questions and your answer, because the question I had for the peer family support advisor model, what's the training going to be like? I mean, the question I raise is, what's the training going to be like in regards to that? Will they be contractors? Will it be the peer-to-peer model, train the trainer? How's that going to look?
Well, one way that will happen is because the people that we're looking at hiring for this position, we want them to have some prior experience in special education. And so a lot of our guidance as well, for example, we just recently attended the critical decisions training, which is a train the trainer model. It's sponsored by the Virginia Department of Education. It is for educators, but it is also for parents.
Right.
So we've been asked to take that information and then ripple that down to other parents so they're aware as well. So the training is, I think it's going to be a little bit different because it's more up close and personal, where we're walking them through every step of the way, helping people to be informed, and we have staff to be able to do that. Many times at a division this size, we just don't have that personal time or the touch because there are so many things happening. People have so many roles, but these persons, their role is dedicated to helping those families. So there will be outreach, they'll know who they are, they'll know who to call, and they can set up times to walk through it. Everything is transparent. Everything that they need to know about training is everything that we have that's in writing. Coming from Department of Education, from our department, from DOE, from VCU, all the groups, but they're all, and we're going to use a lot of the VDOE information because that's for everyone across the state. So it's very neutral, very transparent.
And last question, I know I said bear with me, but I noticed, I know that you've done a lot in your department, Ms. Bell, about the informative workshops, the family learning series,
Yes.
such as your, I think it was trauma-informed, dyslexia presentation, positive behavior support strategies. Can you characterize how they were attended? And did we track data as far as attendance and participation? And did we calculate, the effectiveness of these models? If so, what can we do to kind of increase it?
So we do. We ask persons to sign up. So many times you'll have people who register, who may attend or they may not, and then you'll have people who just found out about it and show up. So that data varies. So we have all sign-in lists from everyone who's ever attended any of our sessions. Some of the sessions will range anywhere from 4 to 26. It just depends, which is why we varied across the county. I think one of the key pieces is that we just need those constant reminders of communication. So we're trying to figure out what's the best way to make sure that people are informed. So we've had great support from our public relations department by posting information out there. I think with parent engagement, it's one of those things that this is all a paradigm shift as well, because parent engagement has typically been just for schools who are in Title I through the parent involvement. Our goal here is that parent engagement is for everyone. So as we move forward in that direction, that this is not just an East End type of program, and we're targeting East End, we're targeting everyone. And when that information is getting out there, we're seeing more of an increase in participation. So there are a lot of factors, and we'll continue to grow, but as we said in the quote here from Pizzi, it's all about consistency. It's the investment in it, and we have to be consistent. And so there are times, even with our family learning night, the turnout wasn't as great as we'd like, but the impact of the people who came, if we were to talk with every person there, those who came in kind of skeptical about social media, for example, left with, oh my gosh, I didn't know. I need to. So it's those types of impacts that help us to grow, and we're not going to give up. Just like we don't give up on children, we're not giving up on our parents.
Well, because I saw on Facebook there was some inquiry in regards to how the schools can make the IEP process better. What was your take on that as far as our ability to address that and kind of change it, how the schools, the individual schools can make the IEP process better?
I didn't see that particular one. As far as the IB program?
Yeah, just the process from
Well,
the
I
school
think
level.
you've addressed that a little bit, Pam, and, changing the front office culture, making things more welcoming for the parents inside the meeting. One of the goals of the family liaisons would be to make sure the parents, we stop in the middle of the meeting, make sure the parents understand what all these terms mean. I've been involved in SEAC for the last 5 years, and I'm still not sure of what all the acronyms are.
So was it IEP
No, I
or
mean,
the
that's
IEP?
IEP. No, the IEP.
IB.
Yeah,
Oh,
IEP.
IB, I'm so sorry.
Correct. He was
I'm
asking.
sorry.
So I did not see that, so I would have to better understand what that question was. But
No, IEP, at the school level, I think she just spoke to it, just
Okay.
in regards to
Okay.
that's prohibitive for some people. It's a daunting task.
Right.
And if you're not informed, she just said, I've been at it for 5 years, don't understand all the acronyms. And I think you talk about the disproportion of how it affects us, not just, East and Western, but just parents, period. I think that the onus is on us to be more proactive and not have the perception of being adversarial, but just basically recognize and then make sure we implement what we say we're going to do. I mean, so that's just key for me. So that's thank you. You've helped me.
Sort of follow up on your last question, though. The VCU recommendation that Pam mentioned earlier was having families do a peer-to-peer support. We were rather concerned that families might allow their own experiences to color what they share with other families. So that's why we were recommending the objective family liaisons that would not have any color to their commentary about what's happened in the past or what might happen, but just to give them the facts and tell them what they should be able to expect.
Thank you. So, again, thank you for all the great work and the great presentation. I think like a lot of things, it boils down to two parts. There's substance of the IEP program, and then there's process.
Correct.
And so many times, the feedback that we get is that the process is where it falls apart, and you never get to the substance. So I think what you're suggesting is great in that reduce the process part of things so much so that you're able to more quickly and more ably get to the substance of what's going on. And your ability to do that, I think you mentioned creating a model IEP either that's videoed or that's shared, because the other thing that you hear quite often is consistency, not only from school to school, but within feeder patterns. And sometimes a family will have, the summer will come, they'll come back and there'll be new leadership in the building or new leadership in the IEP process, and what was strong before is not so strong, and all of a sudden it's night and day. There's all sorts of different circumstances there. So the consistency, number one, it will alleviate the parents' unfamiliarity with the process. But equally so is it will share with our administrators and our faculty that this is what we're telling the parents it looks like.
Yes.
So if you do something like this, it's going to help, because they will say, I've seen this before. We all if I go to a new courtroom, I get there early because I want to know where I'm supposed to stand and where the other people are going to be and where I like to, so when I get up there to talk, I'm not trying to figure out where things are for the first time. So it's the same circumstance. We share with parents that this is who's going to be there, and that everybody's going to kind of sit around a table somewhat like this one, and the conversation is going to start like this, and then it's going to be this. So all of a sudden, the process becomes much less important, and you're able to get to the substance. And like I said, equally so, our educators know this is what our parents are going to be expecting. And so if you don't deliver it, obviously it's going to increase their apprehension, and it's going to decrease the results. So I think that that's a great opportunity both ways, so that it's not just, it's better than train the trainer, because you go out and each personality has some influence on things and what you believe is more emphasized and so forth. This is a starting place that everybody will have a certain level of expectation. So I think it's a great plan to do that. And I think that I think that particular item in itself will go a long way towards accomplishing the goals that y'all have explained. So.
I love what you said about the consistency, because that's actually been a large focus of SEAC this year. I mean, our goal would be you can walk into a middle school in the West End and have the same or similar meeting as an elementary school in the East End. So like you said, there wouldn't be any surprises. Everyone feels like they're being treated fairly and consistently.
Right, very much so. So thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for y'all's presentation. Another great report from one
I'm
of the
telling you,
subcommittees.
we have
So,
had tremendous work done by our subcommittees, our work groups. Thank you. I know it's been the thanks has been shared on behalf of the board, and on behalf of the school administration. Thank you so much to our staff and community member volunteers and all of you who have worked on the committees. I know this is a tremendous undertaking, but the results have been really meaningful. I'm looking forward to next steps.
It's been important to us, so thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. All right, next, under operations, we have a number of items coming forward for review that we'll be asking for your approval on later this evening, and Mr. Shiroki will come forward, I think beginning with a review of a proposal for A&E Consulting Services for long-range planning assessment. Mr. Shiroki?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Cashwell. The first item is something that you're most familiar with, and that is when we went through the CIP process back in the fall, We were asked by you guys to be able to hire an architect to be able to review the projects that are in the proposed FY20 CIP, years 4 and 5, to conduct an evaluation of them over the course of this summer to look at the current building status as far as its mechanical, electrical, plumbing, the structural engineering, to make some recommendations from a cost perspective, but also a longevity perspective with respect to replacement, renovation, repair. So this proposal here for your consideration this evening allows us to work with Stantec in the amount of $200,000 to work with us on an assessment as we had described previously in the CIP process.
Members of the board, do you have any questions before we move on? Anything that you need to help you make a decision tonight? If not, we'll move to the next item.
The next item is consideration of a construction contract for the replacement of the main gymnasium's gym floor at Verina High School. Went through a bid process, and the contract is being recommended to be awarded to Miller Flooring Company, just over $139,000. This work would be scheduled for the course of this summer and ready for the fall, at the start of the school year.
Very good. Members of the board, any questions?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Soroki, is that hardwood going back in?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and so climate and humidity and all those kind of things are taken into consideration?
They are. One of the things that the process is very short to install, but the material has to sit in the environment, become acclimated for several weeks, as well as we have to ensure that the HVAC units are dehumidifying at the appropriate rate,
Right.
again, to protect the material. But our middle and high schools, we've been moving towards continuing with wood flooring as we've replaced primarily the ones in the middle schools. They're all wood. Elementary is a poured surface.
Just making sure that those factors are taken into consideration because you don't want a problem 6 months down the road. So,
Absolutely.
okay, thank you, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Rowe, quick question. So why was there almost a $70,000 difference between two bids and the winning bid in regards to the higher two were more consistent, but then the last one was almost $70,000 less?
I don't have specifics because obviously only the contractor that submitted the final figure on the day could answer to that, but there are a multitude of things that could have come into play. One is availability of material, local labor, could have been timing with other projects that they have. We have specifications that they are all required to meet, and this company, which was substantially lower than the other bidders, will have to meet that. But there's a variety of reasons. Sometimes companies that are from out of the area are not familiar with the area, not familiar with the materials that are necessary to supply. It can vary.
Well, I saw they're from Pennsylvania, they're from Pennsylvania, so I guess is this normal or is this an anomaly?
Not unusual at all. Again, they may have work in the area, they may have a larger supply of materials, they may have a labor force that they travel with. It's not unusual.
Before we leave that, will it include of course, that gym floor's been dedicated to Coach Rudisill. Will it include remarking the floor just like it is now and the dedication and so forth?
It does, and we work directly with each of our schools when we replace the floor to ensure that the colors match, any logos. If they're looking to update some of the logos, we work with that. But if their name is on the floor, generally as a rule, the name will always remain on the floor.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Good. So that's included in the bid and so forth. They know what they're
It
getting.
is.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. All right, unless there's something else, next item?
The next item is for award of a construction contract. This is a meals tax project that goes towards some bathroom improvements at Carver Elementary. This is pretty standard for what we've done. We work with each of our schools' principals. This is not enough money to renovate all of the bathrooms, but we do it in phases, and we work with the principal to determine which ones they believe have the greatest use and access to replace in the order that they prioritize them.
Anyone have a question? Thank you. I believe you have one more.
Yes, the last item. This is a continuation where about a month ago, you awarded a contract for the purchase of some wetland mitigation credits for the replacement of Holland Springs High School. This is going towards the land that's being acquired. This completes the amount of acreage that we are required for the wetlands that we're mitigating. So again, the last time we did wetland mitigation credits as well as stream credits, and this just finalizes the actual wetland credits that need to be purchased.
Thank you. Any questions, board members? All right, well, good. Well, thank you for
Thank you.
that information.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shiroki, and that concludes items from the superintendent.
Okay, members of the board, is there any unfinished business? Is there any new business? The only item that I would take the liberty to bring up here is, at our last board meeting, or maybe before that, there was a discussion generally about the block schedule at the high school level, or in the, I don't know what you call the non-block schedule, except the non-block schedule, the other schedule. And I know there's conversations going on about it in the various schools, and I just wanted it to be, it was my impression, and I want to make sure that the board, that we have a chance to talk about it if necessary, but that the conversation was not a directive from the board to do one thing or another, other than to consider it from the standpoint of trying to determine if there was a need to make a change or something of that nature. But I don't believe that the board took a direction that to change, that a block schedule would be mandated anywhere but other than that it would be considered. And so I'm certainly, I guess my point is, I don't believe that's a board decision, nor was a board decision made at that level. And I just want to make sure that it's clear as it goes forward, whatever is brought forward or whatever we're informed about, it's not considered a board decision at the board level, but instead it's something that you and your staff are dealing with and are coming to a conclusion about. And if anybody has a different, now's a chance for us to discuss that kind of under this point, if anybody feels differently about that. Mr. Pike.
Mr. Chairman, I think one of the things that, school systems look at and consider from time to time are ways of maybe doing things differently. And I think this conversation grew out of looking at overcrowding in some schools.
Correct.
And I think the point that I was trying to make is that I think we owe it to ourselves to look at what might be out there in terms of alternatives that might help us in those sets of circumstances. I'm not an expert by any way, but I don't know that we can build our way out of overcrowding. I don't know that we can redistrict our way out of overcrowding. I don't know that we can learning cottage our way out of overcrowding. So I think part of what I was asking us to consider and look at is to go out there and do some research and see what might be available that we haven't considered in the past. Perhaps those are the only alternatives, right. Redistricting and building and learning cottages. But I also think, too, that looking at alternative schedules for our students is also interesting, too, because I think that can potentially impact how we allocate staff, how we allocate a lot of different things. Right. And if we're in a situation right now where we have, for example, if all of our middle schools are on some type of block schedule and they feed into high schools that are on a block schedule, and we have a couple of high schools that are still on a traditional day schedule, how does that impact us? Right. What does that do with us in terms of personnel and being able to put different types of programming together? How does it impact transportation? How does it impact students that don't fit a non-traditional model in terms of schools? So I just think we owe it to our students, our teachers, our parents and communities to look at those and see if there are other alternatives out there that could possibly help us. And, I'm sure Virginia's been well known for Dr. Michael Rettig, a former JMU professor who's known across the United States as an expert on block scheduling. Right. He's right here in our own backyard. But, looking at those alternatives and trying to figure out the best way to move forward is really what I was suggesting, is we just take a really close look and see if there's some other possibilities out there beyond our traditional options.
And I think I think there was agreement that was our direction was to look, and I just want to make sure it's communicated, not communicated, our direction was to go in a particular direction, because I think it has not been our level of involvement in those decisions before. Whatever the superintendent and her staff come back with, we want to hear about, and we'll support them as they go forward. But I just want to make sure that it's being communicated that way, because it's important, I think. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mrs. Cobb.
Along those same lines, I think that we should take a look at it too with the equity and the consistency piece of it too. And so I think that was part of that conversation when we were talking about the block scheduling and the overcrowding. And I know that we've discussed too how it plays into our career and technical education programming, and we're missing some opportunities there. But specifically for the equity and consistency piece, I think that we
It's
need to take a
important.
look at it.
Thanks. Reverend Cooper, anything?
Just concur. I think that's the conversation we had. I think that we definitely need to exhaust all options and opportunities. I think it's more than just, as Mr. Pike alluded to, building and just cottages, and the scheduling is imperative. Because we've talked about the offerings in my district and your district in regards to advanced placement classes and also the preparation of students to even be able to take the test and take the classes because of lack of participation in that
Level
regards.
up.
Correct. So I think that it's comprehensive. If we can look at it from that whole vantage point, it'll make a big difference.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Ogburn, do you have anything to add? Did we lose you anywhere along the way? Okay, maybe we did, but okay, very good. Madam Superintendent?
Yeah, thank you for the clarification regarding the board's stance related to that issue. And certainly, our takeaway is to go back and the directive is to examine some ways forward in relation to a number of issues, the overcrowding piece, and how we might have creative solutions to share staff across schools. And of course, whether it's virtual opportunities, et cetera, we know that scheduling has been a barrier to doing some of that in the past, as well as availability of CTE programming for all students, particularly for schools who may be off the block. So we're working with the central team to look at a path forward, and we'll look forward to reporting back.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for us having that opportunity to clarify. Well, members of the board, that concludes our agenda for today. Our next meeting, of course, will be the evening meeting here at 6:30. And then next month, we'll meet on April the 18th for a 2 p.m. work session and a 6:30 monthly meeting, because we will have just the one meeting in April because of the wonderful spring break that we're about to begin to celebrate. So unless there's anything else, we will adjourn our work session and meet here again at 6:30 for our monthly meeting. Thank you.